So here's the honest truth about cash buyers. If you're thinking about selling your house to a cash buyer, I want you to understand something before you sign anything. Because the truth about cash buyers is this: some of them are real investors, some of them can actually close. Some of them provide a real solution if you need to sell quickly as is without repairs, showings, or month of uncertainty. But a lot of these people calling you, texting you, mailing you letters saying we buy house for cash and are actually the end buyer, they're wholesalers. And their goal is not always to buy your house. Their goal is to get your house under contract at a low enough price so they can resell the contract to a real investor. And if you don't understand how that works, you could be leaving tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands on the table. Hello, my name is Jason Villani. I'm a real estate broker here in Orange County, and I work with homeowners who are trying to figure out the best way to sell their property. Sometimes that means selling to a real investor, and sometimes that means strategically pricing your homes to attract multiple offers fast. And sometimes that means listing the property traditionally on the open market because that's where the seller is going to make the most amount of money. But what I don't like seeing is homeowners getting pressured into accepting cash offers before they even know what their home is actually worth. So in this video, I want to break down what cash buyers really are, how wholesalers make money, what red flags to look for in the contract, and what options you should compare before you accept a cash offer. So in this first part, I want to clarify that all cash buyers are not the same. First, let's be clear. I'm not going to say every cash buyer is bad. There are real investors out there who buy property with cash. They have the funds, they know the construction, they understand renovation budget, and they can close quickly. If your house needs a lot of work, has tenants, has title issues, is inherited, or you just want a simple sale, a real estate investor might not be a bad option. A real investor takes real risks. They're buying the property, they're paying the closing costs, they're dealing with the repairs. They're taking on the holding costs, insurance, taxes, utilities, contractors, resale risk, and the market risk. So yes, they need to buy at a discount. That part is normal, but here is where things get confusing for homeowners. A lot of people who market themselves as cash buyers are not actually planning on buying the property, they're trying to wholesale it. And here's what a wholesaler actually does. A wholesaling business model is pretty simple. They find a homeowner who may want to sell, they make a cash offer low, they're trying to get the property under contract, then they take the contract and shop that property around. If they find an investor willing to pay more money than they paid you, they assign the contract and keep that difference. That difference is called the assignment fee. Let's say your house could sell for on the open market $1 million. A wholesaler may offer you $700,000, then they're going to try to find an investor who will pay $750,000 for it. If they can assign that contract, they're going to make $50,000. Sometimes wholesalers make $25,000, sometimes $50,000, sometimes $100,000 or more. And again, the issue is not always that wholesaling exists. The issue is when the homeowner doesn't understand the person across the table may not actually be the buyer. You think you're dealing with someone who is buying your house, but in reality, they may just be trying to control the deal long enough to find someone else to take it. And if they can't find that person, that's when the problems start. So what can go wrong? Here's what actually can happen when the wholesaler gets property under contract too high. They make an offer that sounds good, maybe even feels fair compared to what you thought your property was worth. But when they take it to their investors and they realize the deal doesn't work, the numbers are too tight, the renovation costs are too much, the resale value isn't there, the investor doesn't have enough profit margin. So now the wholesaler has a problem. They have your property under contract, but they can't sell that contract. And that's when you may see one of three things happen. Number one, they cancel. Number two, they ask for a price reduction. Or number three, they try to renegotiate right before closing. This is what people call a retrade. And that can be brutal for a seller because maybe you already started packing. Maybe you had already made plans. Maybe you already turned down other options. Then the buyer comes back and says, hey, we found some issues. The repairs are more than expected. Our partner backed out. The market has changed. We need to reduce the price. And now you're stuck deciding whether to take less money or start all over. And that's why the contract matters. Not just the offer price, the terms matter, the deposit matters, the inspection period matters, the cancellation language matters. So here are some red flags to look for. If you're looking at a cash buyer contract, here are some things I would pay attention to. First, can they assign the contract? If the contract says the buyer can assign their rights over to another buyer, that usually means they may be planning to wholesale the deal. That doesn't automatically mean it's bad, but you should know what it means. It means the person signing the contract may not be the person who actually closes. Second, how much is the deposit? If someone is offering hundreds of thousands of dollars for your house, but only puts down a tiny deposit, that's a red flag. I've seen contracts where the deposit is extremely low compared to the purchase price. If the buyer has very little money at risk, it may be easy for them to walk away. A serious buyer should be willing to put the real money down behind the offer. And third, is the deposit refundable after inspection? This is a big one. If a buyer can inspect the property, cancel easily, and get their deposit back, then the seller may be the only one carrying the most amount of risk. A strong offer usually has a clear inspection timeline and a meaningful deposit that becomes non-refundable after the buyer has time to do their due diligence. And fourth, how long is the inspection period? A long inspection period gives the buyer more time to shop the deal. If they need 14, 21, 30 days to inspect, you need to understand why. A real investor who knows the area and understands the construction should usually be able to move faster than that. And fifth, do they have proof of funds? Don't just take someone's word for it. If they say they're a cash buyer, ask for proof of funds. And not just a screenshot of a vague letter. You want to know actually if they have the ability to close. And six, are they pressuring you to sign quickly? This is one of the biggest warning signs. If someone is telling you that the offer expires today or you need to sign right now, you shouldn't talk to anyone else there. That should make you pause. A legitimate buyer should not be afraid of you getting a second opinion. And five, the biggest mistake sellers make. The biggest mistake I see sellers make is assuming a cash offer is their only option. A lot of homeowners think, my home needs too much work. I don't want to deal with repairs. I don't want people walking through my house. I don't want to pay commissions. I need to sell quickly. So they assume the only path is to sell directly to a cash buyer. But that's not always the truth. You can sometimes sell as is on the open market. You can sometimes price the home strategically and get multiple offers fast. You can sometimes sell to a real investor without going through a wholesaler. And you can sometimes structure the sale around your timeline, even if you need flexibility after closing. The point is this, a cash offer can be one option, but it should not be the only option you look at. Before you accept a cash offer, you should compare it to what the property could realistically sell for in the right strategy. Because in Orange County, the gap is massive. I've seen sellers almost give up 100, 200, even 300 or more because they thought the cash offer was their safe choice. Because once we looked at the numbers, the condition of the home, the neighborhood, the buyer demand, and the actual market value, it became clear that there's better paths forward. Number 7, the 3 options every seller should compare. Before you sell to a cash buyer, I believe you should look at 3 paths. Option 1, sell to a real investor. This is the fastest and simplest option. No repairs, no open houses, no traditional showings, usually cash, usually as is. This could be a good fit if speed and certainty matters more than getting a highest price possible. Option 2, strategically price your home to attract multiple cash offers fast. This is where a lot of sellers don't realize they have options. You don't always have to list high and let it sit on the market for months. Sometimes the strategy is to price the home in a way that creates urgency, bringing in multiple buyers and still allowing you to sell quickly. This can work especially well when the home needs a lot of work but is in a desirable area. And option 3, list traditionally on the open market. This is usually the path that the seller wants to maximize exposure and maximize price. It takes more preparation, it involves more showings, and it may take more time. But in many cases, this is where the seller gets the most money. The right choice depends on your situation, but you should always know the numbers of all 3 situations before you make a decision. In part 8, what should I ask before signing? If you already have a cash offer, here's the question I would ask before signing anything. Are you the actual buyer or are you trying to sign the contract? Can I see proof of funds? How much is the earnest money deposit? When does the deposit become non-refundable? How long is your inspection period? What reasons allow you to cancel? Are there any fees, deductions, or credits later? Who is paying for closing costs? Can you close on my timeline? Have you bought other properties in this area? And most importantly, what would my house likely sell for if I didn't accept this cash offer? Because that's the number that gives you context. Without that number, you don't know if the cash offer is fair or even makes sense. You only know that it's a convenience. So if you're thinking about selling your house to a cash buyer, don't just focus on the offer price. Look at who the buyer is. Look at the contract, look at the deposit, look at their ability to close. Look at whether they can assign the contract and look at what your home could actually sell for on the open market or with different strategies. My name is Jason Vellani and I'm a real estate broker here in Orange County. I help homeowners compare their options before accepting a cash offer. Sometimes I'll tell you that the investor offers make sense. Sometimes I'll let you know there's a better way to sell fast. And sometimes I'll tell you that you're going to go to the open market because you could put a lot more money in your pocket. If you have a cash offer and you want a second opinion, go to my website, jasonvellani.com, or call me at 714-403-2087. I'll help you look at the numbers, the contract, and the buyers so you can make the best decision for your situation, because selling fast is good, but selling smart, it always protects your equity.